I guess you never think it's going to be you. 6 months ago, I started to notice she was different. Nothing obvious at first. Small things. The phone always face down on the table. Before, she'd just toss it down any which way. Not anymore. Always screen down. A new kind of smile when she looked at her messages. My name is Frank. I'm 52. I've worked as a logistics manager for almost 30 years at a transport company here in the Chicago area. It's not glamorous. Sad spreadsheets, broken down trucks, late drivers and clients complaining. But it's honest work. I built my career with sweat, Started as a dispatch assistant, loading boxes. I moved up slowly. Today, I coordinate a team of 40 people, manage deliveries for the entire metro area. I'm proud of that. I've been married to Patricia for 26 years. Or I was, I should say. 2 grown kids. Phil lives downtown in the city, works in IT. Julia got married last year and lives in Milwaukee. We always had an ordinary life, but a good one. Our own condo in a nice building in Naperville near the Riverwalk. Car paid off. Never in the red. I was never about luxury, but I never let them want for anything. BBQs on Sunday, trips up to the lake in Michigan for vacation, good schools for the kids. I worked hard for that. I always thought Patricia valued it, that we were a team. Well, yeah. And before I go on, I wanted to thank you on the other side, listening to the story of a guy you don't even know. If you can, leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. Comment if you've been through anything similar. Because, trust me, stories like this are more common than we think. Anyway, about 6 months ago, I started to notice she was different. Nothing obvious at first. Small things. The phone always face down on the table. Before, she'd just toss it down. Not anymore. Always screen down. A new kind of smile when she looked at her messages. Like a smile I hadn't seen her aim at me in a long time. She started going out more too. The gym 3 times a week, meeting friends, which used to be once a month, a cooking class, an English class. There was always a reasonable explanation, and me, I believed it, or pretended to. Because we men, sometimes we prefer to pretend we don't see it rather than face the truth, right? But the truth doesn't disappear just because you close your eyes. There was one time I got home early. She was in the bedroom, on the phone. When she saw me, she hung up fast, said it was her mother. But the voice I heard wasn't the voice you use with your mom. It was low. It was intimate. I let it go that day, but it stuck in my head. Another time I asked if she wanted to go to the movies with me. On a Saturday night, she said she was tired, that she'd rather stay home. 2 hours later, she was all dressed up, heading out. Said Claudia, her friend, had called with a last-minute birthday invite. She came back at midnight, a different perfume on her neck. I told myself it was paranoia, that I was seeing things that weren't there, but deep down, deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want to accept it. Things got worse slowly. She stopped asking how my day was. She always used to ask. Now she barely looked up when I got home. She stopped making that food I liked. Her lasagna that was my favorite Sunday meal. Said she was on a diet, but I saw her eating normally. She just didn't make it for me anymore. We had a family dinner at my sister's house, my nephew's birthday. Patricia spent the whole night on her phone. My sister even commented, "Is she okay? She seems distracted." I made up some excuse. Said she was stressed about a problem with her mum. A lie from me to cover her behavior. Funny how we do that, isn't it? Then it reached a point where it was impossible to ignore. It was a Sunday. She asked me to pick her up at Claudia's, said her car was making noise. I went. I buzzed Claudia's apartment. Claudia opened the door in her pajamas, looking like she'd just woken up from a nap. I told her I was there to pick up Patricia. She looked at me, confused. Patricia? But she's not here. She didn't even come over today. I felt the floor drop out. I thanked her, mumbled something about confusing the address, and left. I called Patricia. She answered, breathless, said she'd changed plans, that she'd gone for a walk in the park. A walk. At 3 in the afternoon in 95-degree heat. You didn't have to be a genius. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, every detail, every little lie, every change in behavior. It wasn't in my head. It was real, and it hurt like hell to accept it. And then came the day that changed everything, that Thursday, that damn Thursday. I woke up in the middle of the night, 3 in the morning. I heard a noise from the bathroom. I looked over. The bed was empty. I stayed quiet, listening. I heard the faucet run, the hairdryer turn on. She was getting ready. 3 in the morning, people. I thought, is she really going out now? I stayed still, eyes closed, pretending to sleep. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I heard her open the closet. The smell of her perfume, that expensive one I got her for her birthday, filled the room. She walked past the bed, grabbed her purse. I heard her steps in the hall. The front door opening slowly, trying not to make noise, closing carefully, the lock turning, the elevator going down. I jumped up, threw on a pair of jeans, whatever shirt, sneakers, didn't even tie them right. I ran down the stairs, didn't even wait for the elevator. When I got to the lobby, I saw her silver Malibu pulling out of the garage. I ran to the corner. There was a cab sitting at the stand. I got in. The driver, an older guy in his 60s, looked at me a little startled. Must have been my wide eyes, my heavy breathing. I told him, trying to sound calm, follow that silver Malibu up there, but keep your distance. He looked at me in the rearview mirror. He must have understood the situation. He just nodded. We followed her for about 10 minutes. She drove toward the city near Lakeview. She parked on a quiet residential street with condo buildings, got out of the car, looked around, went into a building. I told the driver to stop. I watched. I saw the light on the 5th floor turn on, a window with the blinds half closed. I paid the driver $50, told him everything was fine. I got out. I just stood there on the sidewalk, under a tree. I smoked 2 cigarettes. I haven't smoked in 10 years, but I bought a pack the week before. A premonition, maybe. I waited 45 minutes, an hour. The cold of the early morning, the silence of the street, just the sound of a dog barking far away, and me, just standing there looking at that lit window, imagining what was happening. Feeling a mix of anger, sadness, disbelief. How does it get to this point, you know? When she came out, at 4:30 in the morning, she wasn't alone. A man, early 40s. Dress shirt, nicely pressed. A watch that shined even in the dark, must have been expensive. Good haircut. The kind of guy you look at and just know, he has money. They stopped at the building's entrance. They talked quietly. She laughed. That laugh I knew. That was mine, or that I thought was mine. Then he hugged her. It wasn't a goodbye hug. It was a long hug, his hand on her back, his face in her hair. She rested her head on his shoulder. I just stood there, frozen, watching it. My wife, in another man's arms, at 4:30 in the morning, on a Thursday. She got in her car and drove off. He stood on the sidewalk, waving. Then he went back up into the building. I just stood there. I don't know for how long. I just know that when I came to, the sky was already getting light. I got an Uber. The driver tried to make small talk. I pretended to be asleep. I couldn't speak. I got home. She was already there, in bed, her back to the door, pretending to be asleep. You could tell by her breathing she wasn't. I lay down next to her. I didn't touch her. I left a space between us. I just stared at the ceiling, the shadows from the blinds, the light creeping in. And I thought about everything. I thought about the 26 years, the day I met her, at a company picnic where she worked. She was selling raffle tickets. I bought 5 just to have an excuse to talk to her. Our simple wedding, at a rented venue upstate, with a barbecue and beer, the kids being born, me in the delivery room holding her hand. The bills I paid by myself when she wanted to quit her job to take care of the kids when they were little. I never complained. I thought it was right. I thought it was fair. Her taking care of the house, of me, of them. Me working double time, taking overtime, doing consulting gigs on the weekends to make extra money. I remembered the car I bought her last year, a brand new Malibu. She wanted it so bad. I saved for 8 months. Surprised her on her birthday. She cried, she hugged me, said I was the best husband in the world, and now that same car was taking her to another man's bed. I remembered our vacations. I always planned everything thinking about her. The lake, because she liked the sun. A hotel with a good breakfast because she loved that. Trips to the places she wanted to see. I just wanted to see her happy. Where did I go wrong? I also remembered that time she had pneumonia, about 5 years ago. It was bad. She was in the hospital for almost a week. I slept there. In that uncomfortable armchair in the room. I'd go to work in the morning, come back at lunch, stay until late. I brought her food she liked because the hospital food was terrible. I gave her sponge baths when she didn't have the strength. I brushed her hair. The nurses commented they'd never seen such a dedicated husband. She would hold my hand and say she didn't know what she'd do without me. I believed her. How could I not? And I remembered the day Phil got into college, computer engineering at UIUC. Patricia wanted to throw a party, but we were tight on money that year. A truck had major issues. I had to use our savings to fix it. She got upset, said her son deserved a real celebration. I took out a loan. I threw the party, BBQ beer, a big cake. We invited the whole family. She took pictures of everything, posted on social media, showed her friends. I spent a year paying off that loan. I never complained. It was for my son, and to see her happy. Now lying in that bed, watching the day break, I realized none of that mattered anymore. Not to her. Maybe it never did. Maybe I was just the provider, the guy who paid the bills, who guaranteed her comfort, who solved the problems, but not the man she desired, not the man she chose when she had a choice. I didn't sleep again that night. When the alarm went off at 6, I got up, took a shower. She was still lying there. I made coffee. I left for work. I didn't say good morning. She didn't even notice. Or she noticed and didn't care. At work, I couldn't concentrate. A planning meeting, I was there, but my head was far away. My assistant had to call my name 3 times to get me to answer a question. At lunchtime, I didn't eat. I called John, my lawyer. He's the cousin of a friend from high school. A serious guy, small office but competent. I told him everything. My voice shook a few times, but I told him. He listened without interrupting. Then he said, "Frank, you need to gather evidence, photos, dates, times, everything documented. It will be important." So I went back. That same night, the following Thursday, 3 in the morning, pretended to sleep. She got up again. Same routine. Got ready, left. This time, I was prepared. Phone charged, camera ready. I followed her. Same building. Same lit window on the 5th floor. I took pictures of his license plate, parked in the garage, of the building, of the apartment number at the call box. I wrote everything down in a small notebook. Time she arrived, 3:17 a.m. Time she left, 5:02 a.m. The next week, I did some research, found out who owned that apartment. It wasn't hard. The call box had the last name. I cross-referenced it with social media. Rick Myers, businessman, owned 3 auto parts stores in the area, married, 2 kids, house in a gated community. The downtown condo was a meeting spot. He probably has others, I thought. It's probably not just Patricia. I went back 2 more times, always Thursday, always 3 in the morning, always the same scene. I took photos. I filmed from a distance. I saved everything in a folder in the cloud, password protected, with a backup. Meanwhile, at home, she continued her normal life, even cheerful. Asked if I wanted dinner, if I was okay, commented on the weather, on some show, on whatever nonsense, like nothing was happening. And me, I pretended too. I answered. I ate the dinner she made. I watched TV next to her. I slept in the same bed. But inside, I was already organizing everything, every step, every move. It was around then that I discovered something that completely changed the game. Remember I said I've worked at the same company for 30 years? Well, there are benefits that come with that. One of them is profit sharing. Every year, the company distributes a portion of the profits among the senior employees. Over the last 10 years, I'd put away a good amount, a very good amount, $150,000, saved in a brokerage account I opened myself 15 years ago when I started getting that bonus. Patricia never knew. She never asked either. To her, my salary was what went into the joint account. The rest, she had no idea. On top of that, I inherited a piece of land from my father 8 years ago in a neighborhood that is really appreciated. Today it's worth about $200,000. It's in my name, acquired long before the marriage. She knew about the land, but she had no idea of its current value. She thought it was just some random lot in a remote area. So, to summarize, I had over $350,000 in assets she knew nothing about. And that changed everything, because I wasn't going to be dependent. I wasn't going to be lost. I wasn't going to have to beg or accept humiliation out of financial necessity. I went to the bank. At the branch, I spoke with the manager. I took my name off the joint account we had. It was an old account. We used it to pay house bills. I transferred my share, almost $60,000 that was mine, to a new account, just in my name. I talked to the lawyer about the condo. It's in my name. I bought it before we got married. But we were married with community property. John guided me exactly on how to protect what was legitimately mine. We gathered everything. Values, dates, receipts. I also organized my investments. I had some CDs, some funds. Everything that was bought with money that came in after the marriage would be split. But the old savings, the land, that was mine. John confirmed it. With the right documentation, I could keep those assets separate from the proceedings. I spent 2 weeks organizing everything in silence, while she kept leaving on Thursdays, while she kept lying, while she kept destroying what we had built. I gathered it all. Photos, videos, messages I managed to recover from her computer's backup. She synced her WhatsApp there. She was never careful with passwords. Used the same one for everything. Julia's birthday. Easy. I read everything. The conversations, the audio messages, the plans, the lies she told him about me. Said I was distant, that I didn't pay attention, that our marriage had been dead for years. Lies. All lies to justify her cheating. In one specific audio, she was laughing, telling him how predictable I was, how easy it was to fool me. He believes everything I say, she said. It's almost cute, he's so naive. Rick laughed with her. They made fun of me, of the sucker husband, of the guy who worked his ass off while his wife was having fun with someone else. Hearing that hurt, I won't lie. It hurt like hell. But it also gave me a clarity I didn't have before. It wasn't just physical cheating. It was contempt. It was a total lack of respect. And there was no coming back from that. No way. She thought I was too dumb to suspect. Well, not dumb, just patient. Very patient. Tuesday of this week, I sat down with her in the living room at night after dinner. She was watching a series on her laptop. I turned off the TV. She looked at me surprised. I placed the photos on the coffee table, one by one. The building, his car, the two of them at the door, the lit window, the dates, the times. She turned white. She picked up a photo. Her hands were shaking. She looked at me, tried to speak. No sound came out. She tried again. Frank, I held up my hand. Let me talk first. My voice came out firm. Even I couldn't believe it. I saw everything. 3 times, always at 3 in the morning, always the same place, always the same man. Rick Myers, businessman, married, owner of Unit 502 at the Alvarado. Don't make me a fool again. She started to cry. That cry of someone who's been caught. It wasn't regret. It was the desperation of being discovered. She tried to touch me. I pulled back. She begged for forgiveness between sobs. Said it was just one time. I showed her the photos with different dates. She changed her story. Said it was madness, that she was confused, that she felt alone, that I worked too much, that I didn't give her attention. She dumped out all the excuses I had already read in her messages to him. Patricia, I said, I don't want to hear justifications. There is no justification. You chose to cheat. You chose to lie. You chose to leave our bed every Thursday morning to lie in another man's bed. You chose, not me. She said she would end it with him, that we could start over, that 26 years were worth it, that she loved me. I took a deep breath. I looked at her red eyes, at the face I knew so well, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a huge emptiness. I don't want to start over. I want to end this with dignity. I handed her the papers, the divorce petition, signed by me, and the notification that John had prepared, everything in order. Documented, with the evidence attached. She read it again, looked at me like she couldn't believe it. You've already decided everything? I decided. I decided a month ago. I was just organizing things. What about the kids? They'll know the truth. All of it. She screamed, said I couldn't do this, that it was cruel, that I was destroying the family. I didn't yell back. I just spoke quietly but firmly. You're the one who destroyed it. I'm just finishing the demolition job you started. She tried to negotiate, said she wouldn't leave the condo, that she had rights, that she'd lived here for 20 years. John had already prepared me for this. I explained that the condo was bought by me with my money before the marriage, but that she would receive her share of everything acquired during. The proof of the affair gave her zero leverage to fight for more. She didn't know that. She was in shock. I also told her about my investments, the ones she didn't know about, that they weren't part of the division. I saw the desperation take over. She had planned a comfortable future on my dime. Now she saw that future crumbling. 2 days later, she left. She went to stay with her mother, took her clothes, her personal things, some stuff from the kitchen. She left the keys on the table, didn't even look at me. I was at work. When I got home that night, the house felt different, emptier, but lighter too. The kids found out everything. I called Phil. I scheduled a coffee with Julia. I told them. I showed them the proof. I didn't have to convince them of anything. They saw it. They understood. Julia cried. Not for me or for her. But for the family she thought she had, that didn't exist anymore. Phil was silent. Then he said, "Dad, you did the right thing. I would have done the same." Patricia tried to talk to them. They answered. They listened, but they didn't accept her excuses. Not because I asked them. I never asked them to take sides against their mother. They chose. They saw who was always there, working, paying the bills, supporting the house, present for the important moments. Who missed Phil's graduation because she had a commitment? Her. Who helped Julia furnish her apartment when she got married? Me. The condo stayed with me. She'll get her share, of course. The lawyer calculated it. About $120,000 from the appreciation of the property during the marriage. The car stays with me, too. It was bought with my money, and recently. The joint account was split. She got the $30,000 that was hers. I got the $60,000 that was mine. In total, she'll walk away with about $150,000. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Not to restart a life at 50, with no steady job, no prospects. She lost the lifestyle she had, the comfortable condo, the security, the trips, the credit card I paid for, everything. She's living in a small rented apartment near her mom's place. 2 bedrooms, no garage, a simpler neighborhood. She went back to work, got a job at a clothing store in the mall, minimum wage and commission. It's not easy to start over at 50, not at all. And Rick, he dumped her. As soon as the mess started, he disappeared, blocked her on everything, changed his number. His wife found out too. Must have been a war over there, but he has money. He probably made a deal with his wife, promised he'd change. I don't know. Patricia was left with nothing. Not the husband she betrayed, nor the lover who used her. I talked to an acquaintance who lives in the same gated community as Rick. He told me his wife really did find out, but they stayed together. She must have daught the math. 3 auto parts stores, big house, imported car. It's better to forgive than to start over. Or maybe she really loves him. Who knows? I don't judge anyone anymore. The funny thing is, Rick even tried to call me. 2 weeks after it all blew up. He must have gotten my number from Patricia. I answered. I was curious to hear what he'd say. He introduced himself, as if I didn't know who he was. Said he wanted to talk. Man to man. We met at a bar. I went more for the entertainment than anything else. He showed up in his dress shirt, expensive watch, trying to look confident. But his eyes were scared. He sat down, ordered a beer, he stalled, talking about the Bears, the weather, nonsense. Finally, I cut him off. You didn't call me here to talk about football. Spit it out. He took a deep breath, said he didn't know she was married, an obvious lie. But I let him talk, said that when he found out, he ended it immediately. Another lie. I had screenshots of their messages from 2 weeks after he found out. Her begging him to continue. Him saying it was risky, but he couldn't stay away. I asked him what he really wanted. He looked at me, said he wanted to be sure I wasn't going to cause problems for him, that I wouldn't talk to his wife, wouldn't go to his store, wouldn't expose him. I laughed. Relax. I don't need anything from you. My problem was with her, and I already solved it. He looked relieved. He paid for the beers. He left. I haven't seen him since. Last week she called me, 3 in the afternoon. I was in a meeting. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again, 6 times. I let everyone go to voicemail. Later I listened to the messages, crying, saying she made a mistake, that Rick had deceived her, that he promised her things he didn't deliver, that he said he'd leave his wife, that they'd be together. His lies or hers, I don't know, it doesn't matter anymore. She said she's sorry, that she wants to come back, that we can rebuild. I didn't answer. I'm not going to. I'm not angry with her. Not anymore. But I have no desire to go back. Just exhaustion. A deep exhaustion from everything that happened. And an enormous relief that I don't have to pretend everything is okay anymore. Today, I wake up early, 6 in the morning. I make my coffee, toast with butter. I read the news, I go to work. The routine continues. I come home in the evening, to a quiet apartment, but an honest one. There are no lies floating in the air. There's no betrayal hidden under the pillow. No phone turned face down. No 3 a.m. exits. Sometimes I sit on the balcony, look out at the city, have a beer, think about life. Did I lose 26 years? Maybe, or maybe not. I had 2 good kids. I built a solid career. I acquired assets. I lived. I just didn't live with the person I thought she was. Last weekend, Julia came to visit. She brought her husband. We had lunch together. I made a barbecue. We talked. She asked me if I was really, truly okay. I looked at her and answered, I am. For the first time in months, I'm really okay. She smiled. She hugged me. She said she was proud of me, that I deserved to be happy. It was good to hear that. Phil called too. Said he's coming to visit next month, that we can go fishing like we used to when he was a kid. It's been years since we went fishing together. I'm looking forward to it. I got my peace back. And that, my friend, is priceless. It really is. If you've been through something similar, leave it in the comments. We're not alone in this. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it. Sometimes we need to see that it's possible to start over, you know? Thanks for staying till the end. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and be well. Life goes on, and it can be good again. It really can.